dreams, I walk free in the city streets. 2,500 days plus 50 weeks, doing hard time for these WikiLeaks, trying to bring the truth out. Man, it only gets you heat, and then they gag you. You don't get to speak, and when you get the leak, they try to hit delete. The masses of the masses, they want the shit discreet. That's why my middle finger's up to these sick elites. Free speech, it's the freedom of press. Take your deepest, darkest secrets, never leave them unsaid. If I'm a thief, then I'm a thief for the people you dread. The people of the red, white and blue, you keep them in bed. Seeing the sheep, keep them asleep, deceiving the weak. Keep seeking the leaks till you cease, and I see your defeat. Until I'm deceased underneath a freezing red sheet. Become a dead man, then I hit the switch and release. When Goldman Sachs is your creditor, you kill the messenger. Stories axed by the editor, you kill the messenger. Pay to play on the regular, you kill the messenger. Need to silence any questioners, you kill the messenger. And outside my window a figure quickly creeps. They dark as night like some motherfucking chimney sweeps. Whiskey with my Mickey keeps dying in my kidneys weak. Silence in my risky tweets is what the grand jury seeks. I'm wanting peace like 7 years in Tibet. Now rest in peace like 7 years under threat. Cause I've released 7 vaults. They upset, they under the right sentence, but the US still insists to rest. I guess it's a sin to take the truth and disseminate. MLK to Gandhi, take aim and eliminate. And I don't say I'm great, just wanna say what's fake. But if they kill me, a million others will take my place. The CIA's post like a knife the sharpest. All hypocrisy, lies, and heartless. They want to stop me, my life make my heart quit. Cause democracy dies in the darkness. When Goldman Sachs is your creditor, you kill the messenger. Stories axed by the editor, you kill the messenger. Pay to play on the regular, you kill the messenger. Need to silence any questioners, you kill the messenger. When the vote count is irregular, you kill the messenger. You caught spying on a senator, you kill the messenger. Removing voters from the register, you kill the messenger. Need to silence any questioners, you kill the messenger. In my dreams, I walk free in the city streets. 2,500 days plus 50 weeks, doing hard time for these WikiLeaks, trying to bring the truth out. Man, it only gets you heat, and then they gag you. You don't get to speak, and when you get the leak, they try to hit the leak. The masses of the masses, they want the shit discreet. That's why my middle finger's up to these sick elites. Playing on the regular, you kill the messenger. Free speech is the freedom of press. Take your deepest, darkest secrets, never leave them unsaid. If I'm a thief, then I'm a thief for the people you dread. The people want the red, white and blue, you keep them in bed. Seeking the sheep, keep them asleep, deceiving the weak. Keep seeking the leaks till you cease, and I see your defeat. Until I'm deceased underneath a freezer red sheet. Become a dead man, then I hit the switch and release. When Goldman Sachs is your creditor, you kill the messenger. And outside my window a figure quickly creeps. They dark as night like some motherfucking chimney sweeps. Whiskey with my Mickey keeps dying in my kidneys weak. Silence of my risky tweets, what the grand jury seeks. I'm wanting peace like 7 years in Tibet. Now rest in peace like 7 years under threat. Cause I've released 7 vaults, they upset, they ended the rape sentence. But the US still insists to rest. I guess it's a sin to take the truth and disseminate. And I'll pay the Gandhi, take him and eliminate. And I don't say I'm great, just wanna say what's fake. But if they kill me, a million others will take my place. The CIA's post like a knife the sharpest. All hypocrisy, lies, and heartless. They want to stop me, my life make my heart quit. Cause democracy dies in the darkness. Cause democracy dies in the darkness. You kill the messenger. You kill the messenger. Democracy dies in the darkness. Feeling cold now, but got the heater on. Feeling sold out, even though I'm keeping strong. But can I hold out when every bit of freedom's gone? They want me rolled out, never to sing freedom song. I wanna see the sky, I wanna feel the rain. But gotta keep away from windows, that's some window pane. It's just a shame, couldn't have planned out all our dreams. Now I scream, cause there's a man in the machine. But the train is off the tracks, and damn it's losing steam. I wanna call Christine, I haven't seen since 013. I'm missing life like 3 strikes each night. Seems like 3 nights ain't right. Can't fight, space light, hate life. Wanting to be snake-like, shutting off this gray life. In the dark can't make light, but where I'm headed now is brake lights. Where I'm headed now they brake lights. Counting days like brake lights. Feeling weight like brake lights. Had a great life. Brake lights. Brake lights. Brake lights. Out of place like brake lights. In my face like brake lights. Counting days like brake lights. Brake lights. Brake lights. Sit here asking, what have I done? If these strings were cut, I'd see my son. And if I could just fly from this place, then I'd hold you in my love embrace. And if I could just speak to you now, I'd renew my vow and be in the now. Is this me in denial? Wanna remove stress from your brow and pay you back some way, somehow. But it's painted black, can see the way back now. But how's the house and how's your mom? I doubt the way the media portrays me makes you hate me. But to think you see that daily makes me crazy, that just ain't me.
This is without a doubt going to be this generation's Free Mandela movement. Every single generation must fight again the same battles that previous generations have fought.
Brake lights, counting days like brake lights, brake lights, brake lights, brake lights, brake lights, brake lights. Brake lights. Brake lights. Brake lights.
Hey everybody, welcome to the stream. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Let me know in chat if you can't, please. My name is Susie Dawson. I'm an activist, a journalist, and the president of the Internet Party of New Zealand. Thank you all for coming on pretty short notice. I wanted to do what we call a State of the Movement address because I haven't done one for a little while. And in a State of the Movement address, I like to just talk through recap where each part of the movement is at and what progress has been made across our various teams. Just double checking audio is good. Okay, excellent. Hi, everybody. Hi to the dozens of people who are already saying hello to me. I can see people from Melbourne and from the UK and across the world. Hi, everyone. Okay, so we're probably just going to, in about half an hour, do a recap of where the movement's at and have a chat. And then we're going to move on into our WikiBeat session. So hopefully you all have heard the news from this weekend just gone. We held in High BC, Canada. We heard the news that there was a second attempted break-in at the Ecuadorian embassy in London on Monday, 29th of October. Can help smile at the messages you guys are sending me right now. That was pretty shocking. I reported that on contraspin.co.nz. I wrote a little article about that. If you haven't seen it, go check out contraspin.co.nz. Consortium News also reported that on their website. Joe Laurier, the editor-in-chief, wrote an article about it. So definitely go and have a look at that. And also the RT, Telesur, the Daily Mail, and the ABC in Australia also reported on that too. So we managed to penetrate mainstream media. Also, Christine Assange recorded an exclusive audio message to all supporters of Julian. Please make sure that you've heard that. You'll find it on the Unity4J channel on YouTube. Last I saw, it had about 15,000 views on it, which is pretty exceptional as well. So that message is really important to listen to because Christine, is one of the closest people to Julian. And she expressed in that message how seriously concerned she is for his well-being and his physical safety. She called what's happening to him a slow-motion assassination that's happening right in front of the world. And she specifically put out an appeal to journalists, to activists, to supporters of democracy and free press worldwide to stand up and to take action to protect Julian. So if you have not yet, please, by all means, listen to her message, but also share it, because obviously it's being blacked out in American media completely. So it is up to us to spread her words as far and wide as possible. I would also ask that you share this stream link right now and let people know that we're live. Usually I go in at all the Discord channels. I haven't had a chance yet to do that tonight. So if you could please let all of our supporters know that we're live on stream right now. Thank you. That would be great. So just to recap the movement from the perspective of the various teams that are working, there has been a big uptake in Discord usage, which I'm really pleased about. We had a whole flood of new users join us after the appearances I did on Jimmy Dore. So if you haven't seen those, I did 4 segments with Jimmy Dore. They came out at the beginning of last week, and that brought a lot of people into movement, which is fantastic. So it's great to see the Discord so active. And the best thing, the thing that makes me the most happy is when you guys form new relationships with each other on the Discord and you independently take action. So last week we had Unity4J Day on Sunday just gone, and it was amazing to see people in Slovenia, people in France, people in various locations in Canada, people around the world just getting out on the streets and taking action to raise awareness about Julian's situation. I consider that the sign of a successful movement when we don't even necessarily schedule an event and events happen. This is exactly what we need. We need people to, as a result of their own conscience, to take these actions, spontaneous actions in support of Julian. So I want to really applaud the efforts of those people. I know there are others who've been making banners and mounting banners all over the place and doing a lot of great things to spread this message. So in terms of the various components of the movement, I see our Twitter account is up 40% following since the last State of the Movement address I did, which is amazing. They've put another couple of thousand followers on there. I see our Facebook account is up by 50%. And all our social media accounts are very active. And I'm really amazed at that. Our social media admin team are absolutely top-notch and deserve so much credit. I think a lot of people assume that I run the @UnityForJ account. To be honest, I don't access it at all. None of those messages come from me. That's entirely our social media admins at work, ditto with our different platform accounts. So huge round of applause to those guys, because what they're doing is incredible. I know our documentary team is starting to pull together and to work on the Unity4J documentary. That's really great as well. If you want to be a part of that, they're looking for people who are willing to pour through the 200-something videos of content on the Unity4J channel and identify the best pieces that they can include in the documentary. So yell out on the Discord server if you're willing to be a part of that team and to help to make that happen. That would be fantastic. I know that at the moment we have a ton of outreach going on. Kitty Hundle, who's the head of research, has now taken over the outreach accounts and is emailing organizations all around the world asking them to support this movement, unions and university student associations and all types of activism and religious organizations all around the world. So that also is fantastic. The comms team did a great job with our press release last week. That was really good to get that out. We will probably we should put a press release out very soon about the upcoming actions. So one of the decisions that was made, a group decision was made last week, that we need to do something new in London. Also, we can mirror the action around the world, but we need to make some noise. We need to make a lot of noise. And we need to make it somewhere that is both going to be problematic for the powers that be so that they can't just ignore it, that is going to attract media attention. So we decided that we were going to take the very successful model that had been used in Venezuela and in Canada and in Iceland, amongst other places, of getting people to bang pots and pans to attract attention to themselves and to the cause. So what we asked is that people take photos of Julian's, posters of featuring Julian's face, and that they bang pots and pans and chant a very simple chant. And that chant was, "We are banging pots and pans because we won't let them kill this man." Now, there has been a little bit of pushback from some people about that plan, because they think that it will inconvenience Harrods, and Harrods will complain. We said we would do this every Saturday until Julian is free at Harrods in London and in commercial centres and cities around the world. So the pushback that we've heard is that they think it will inconvenience Harrods, and that Harrods will complain to the Ecuadorian embassy, and that it might get Julian kicked out of the embassy. So I just wanted to address that quickly, because we need to look at that logically. Okay, so as things stand, Julian is going to be kicked out of the embassy. He's going to be. If we do nothing, he's going to be kicked out of the embassy. It is a fait accompli. We've been told by Rafael Correa the deal was already done. He is going to be kicked out. This week, if you follow Christine Assange on Twitter, you would have seen that they are now even denying Julian food. So Julian's not allowed to have visitors come in to the embassy. They say that he is, but he's not. Nobody's been able to get into the embassy to bring him anything, but somehow Julian's supposed to provide his own food. So Julian doesn't have lines of communication, doesn't have visitors or access to his people, but is supposed to somehow come up with his own food. So this is where we're at. The Ecuadorians are doing everything they can to push and force Julian out of the embassy. So logically, we don't have to be concerned that us taking action is going to get him kicked out when he is already going to be kicked out of the embassy, is already going to be forced out of the embassy. So second, no food. People are shocked by this, but go and look at Christine's timeline. Chris at Assange Mrs. on Twitter. Mrs. MRS at Assange Mrs. on Twitter. They are denying him food, and they have been banning his legal team from accessing him or seeing him. So they're forcing him into a situation that is torture. You're absolutely right, Kathy Lloyd. They're forcing him into a situation where he can't physically live there. He can't sustain himself there. So that tells me that we need a game changer. We need an intervention. We need to take some action to do something which changes the current situation. If we don't, he will be forced out of the embassy. So to those few people who've said, we shouldn't bang pots and pans at Harrods because it might force Julian out of the embassy, well, that's what's going to happen if we don't do it. That's what's going to happen if we don't take action. So we absolutely need to do something. And then secondly, I would say that inconveniencing Harrods is exactly the point of banging pots and pans outside Harrods. We need to agitate the powers that be. We need to do things that inconvenience them. We need to do things that make the public take notice. And then some people say, well, those same people have said, oh, well, it might upset the shoppers and they might turn against Julian. Let's be realistic here. The bourgeoisie, the 1%, are already against Julian. There's nobody that supports Julian who's going to stop supporting Julian because there's a protest action at Harrods. They're not going to stop supporting Julian because people are trying to bring attention to what's happening to him. The only flack or pushback we're going to get is from people that don't support Julian, not from people that do support Julian. So I personally think, and that also the protest tactic, this decision to hold these actions was not something that I came up with for kicks. It was something that was devised between Ray McGovern, the 30-year CIA veteran analyst who turned peace activist, and Christine Assange and myself and others all put our heads together to come up with this. So the purpose of protest is to be disruptive to the powerful, to discomfort the comfortable, and to comfort the afflicted. That is the nature of protest. So this is ideal, to disrupt the comfortable 1% doing their Christmas shopping at an elite department store in proximity to the embassy is an ideal plan. Now, I'd like to just add one more thing about that, and that's that I am not at all wanting those who are already involved in the London vigils, those vigils have been going on for years now. I'm not at all wanting them to abandon the embassy and relocate to the Harrods actions. What we're calling for is for people who aren't involved in the embassy vigils to go and do the Saturday protest actions. So, and it may be that we need to do it more than just on a Saturday, especially over this Christmas period. So the other thing that I'd just like to point out about that action plan, Triana says, oh dear, you wouldn't want to inconvenience them. Well, this is exactly the thing, Triana, is that when I hear this type of pushback, it makes me know that we're hitting a nerve, that it actually will be an effective tactic. So I remember back in the days of Occupy, I'm always telling stories about Occupy because it's such what happened in that movement is such a classic example of these continuing threads that you see in other protest movements and actions. The methodology always mirrors itself. And back in Occupy days, we started with one very big occupation in my city in Auckland, and the saboteurs and infiltrators tried very hard to control that occupation. And so we began to decentralize the occupation. We set up a second occupation site, and then a third occupation site, and then a fourth occupation site. And each time that we created a new occupation site, it made it much, much, much harder for the saboteurs and the informants to try to control the strategic course of the movement. It became impossible for them, because then they had to somehow be present at and influencing 2 different groups, and then 3 different groups, and then 4 different groups. And I remember when we first proposed that we would set up an occupation right by Auckland University in a place called Albert Park. And the saboteurs went into total meltdown when they realized that we wanted to put an occupation next to the university, because they knew the university had thousands of sympathetic people in proximity to it, and they knew how much it would strengthen our ranks to have an occupation there. So they went around telling everybody that if we put an occupation there, that we would be bitten by rats, tree rats from the trees at Albert Park, or that we would be sexually assaulted at nighttime because of the homeless population, and just these most ridiculous things ever, one after the other, to try to prevent us from doing this action. And we went ahead anyway and set up the occupation there, and they told everybody, nobody will come, this is a terrible spot to have this occupation. And we set it up on the Friday with about 6 of us, and by the Monday morning we had something like 80 people. Like it spread like wildfire, and it was a massive success. So whenever you come up with a really great action plan, you're going to have people who are going to be saying, no, don't do that, don't do that, don't listen to her, don't be a part of this, it's all going to be terrible, it's going to go wrong, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Well, the reality is, for Julian, the sky is already falling. The sky is falling right now. And what we're doing in trying to set up actions like this is to prevent the sky from falling. So I'm just asking you all to think twice when you hear these narratives. Oh, Harrods is a bad idea, or pots and pans is a bad idea, or whatever is a bad idea. You might want to think, who does it benefit for us not to hold protest actions at Harrods in the Christmas shopping period? You'll find it's not for Julian's benefit that they're saying these things. It's for the benefit of the powers that be, who don't want to be inconvenienced by this, and who don't want us to raise awareness in these high foot traffic commercial zones. So that tells me we're doing the right thing, and we need to do more of it. So you'll see we've got some custom graphics that have been made for those actions. You'll see them going out online. I can see so many questions from you guys, and I'd like to have a conversation with you and engage directly before we get into the work session. So if you've been asking, I'm watching multiple chat streams scroll at the moment, because we have a bunch of watchers on my channel, a bunch of watchers on Unique for J channel, and then I know there's another whole set on the Facebook and another whole set on the Periscope. So if you want to ask me a question, you want me to respond in the stream, could you type at Suzy3D, at SUZI number 3D, and then repeat your question, and I'm more than happy to answer your questions right now. So what I'm trying to say is we're going to go full steam ahead with these Saturday actions, but I'm totally into chaos theory in where it relates to the current situation for Julian. If you guys have action ideas, go and do them. You don't have to get permission from us. You don't have to work within the confines of our organization. You can take independent actions yourself. You are more than welcome to. And that's what I mean by chaos theory. This movement needs to build to a point where there is constantly things happening all around the world at all different times, all different types of tactics, and where we don't necessarily even know what's being done until it's been done. That's the key to success. We don't want to centralize the action planning. We don't want to centralize the support movement. We want to decentralize it. And that is the same way. There's a little thread on my Twitter today talking about people who don't like the Unity for J concept for whatever reason. I urge and encourage them wholeheartedly to go and start another support group for Julian, go and start another Free Assange group, another whatever, come up with their own model of how they want to do things, their own basis for doing them, and to do it, because that is going to be better for everybody. If there is 10 movements to free Julian, that is better than there being one movement to free Julian. It makes it virtually impossible for the security agencies to penetrate. It constantly increases the amount of resources they have to apply to subverting the movement. Okay, so someone's just said, Hoodie Woman Louisiana says, Susie, you need some demonstration hardened South Americans. Well, Ecuador has already been taking action, and that's a great example of what I'm talking about. The Ecuadorians aren't waiting for us to schedule a Unity for J Day or, call a pots and pans action. The Ecuadorian supporters of Julian yesterday were standing outside the presidential palace, banging on the metal gates with coins, and all you could hear is this ding, 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 ding sound as they all smacked the gates with coins, and they were yelling and screaming, "Free Assange, free Assange, free Assange." I saw the video of that in the Discord. I approved it to go out on all platforms, so hopefully you will have seen the video that I'm talking about already. But that's a perfect example of where a group of Julian, someone saying, God bless them, I agree, God bless them. And they're doing so under terrible circumstances because their entire Supreme Court has just been fired. Their journalists are being jailed. The members of the previous government, Korea's government, are on hunger strike in prison. They are under much more terrible circumstances than most of our supporters who are in the West. And they're out there doing it. So they're not waiting for permission. They're not waiting to be told. They're not waiting to follow someone else's lead. They're just doing it. So that, more than anything else, that's my primary message to you guys. Take action. Don't wait for permission. Don't follow me or Unity for J or anyone. You can do it yourself. You can grab 2 friends and go and do something spectacular. I remember with TPPA No Way, someone took a lawnmower and went to this big hill, Mount Wellington, I think it was, hill by the motorway, a major stretch of motorway, and they mowed the message, the hashtag, into the side of the hill, so that literally hundreds of thousands of people driving past could see this hashtag on the hillside. So this is, I'm just giving you examples here, but someone said before, do we have money? Do we have funding? We tried to keep away from that while we were establishing the core structure of this movement. But as you'll know, if you've seen the previous WikiBee sessions, we are intending to have specific funded initiatives where, like, for example, we want to skywrite from a plane over a stadium. We'll fundraise for that specific objective. Or we want to, do a billboard. We'll fundraise for that specific objective. And I've been put in touch with some people. I'm not going to talk too much about that, but I've been put in touch with some people who are experienced at doing that type of thing for movements. So we hope so. But right now, time is not on our side. And I had someone today complaining because they want us to do a big, big action day march thing. When you do those types of actions, it takes like 2 to 3 months to organize. You need to have an organizing committee. You need to wallpaper the town. You need to have one set day that you do it on. You need to do a ton of advertising. You need to get all of the unions and the various organizations to sign on board. And then you have this one action day. Well, there's a couple of problems that I see with that. First of all, is that I don't think we have 3 months right now. I think if we schedule a February giant march in support of Julian. I honestly don't think we have until February. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that the actions that we take in the short term in the next days and weeks will buy us that much time for Julian. But I don't see it. And for me to divert as many resources as it would take, and I mean human resources, into doing just one march in 3 months' time, I don't think that's viable. I don't see it being viable. And the second thing that I don't like about that concept is that while you might get big numbers in a day and get some nice photographs, what happens the next day? The next day it's done and dusted, it's over. It's like the Women's March is like a classic example. We get 2 million people in the street, okay, but then what's the end result the next day? Nothing. It's over and done with, finished, and then everyone wants to have a holiday because they've just spent 3 months organizing one big march. So I think that we are much better off to have a multitude of decentralized actions coming from all over the place and have them be constant than to pour everything into doing one big march day in 3 months' time. That's my personal opinion. Brian Crosby's asking me if Moreno can be impeached. I have absolutely no idea. You would need to ask someone in Ecuador. I'm sorry, I just have no idea. Zanga's asking if Julian has water. I'm sure that Julian does have water, but at this point we just can't put anything past their embassy. They changed all of their embassy staff last Monday, so there's not even a single familiar face inside the embassy for Julian anymore. And last Monday being also the Monday of the previous week, October 29th. That was also the day that the break-in happened at 4:31 in the morning. That was also the day that Julian was testifying in Ecuadorian court, and there was constant technical interference and he was unable to complete his testimony. That was also the day that Sean from Yale University, Sean O'Brien, showed up and found the embassy wide open. So the situation is accelerating so quickly for Julian, and the conditions are deteriorating so severely that I just don't think that we've got 3 months. And I don't think we should be sitting around worrying about whether Harrods will get hurt feelings about us protesting. Yeah, so RSFO has just said to follow Jose Rivera. He's at Siguim, Ecuador, at SIGUEM ECUADOR. It's in the chat on the Unify channel, I think. That is one of the really great citizen journalists reporting from the ground in Ecuador. So, okay, sorry guys, I've missed so many questions. Just please tag me if there's something that you want to ask about. So, I feel like we've passed the point now where we can just do one online vigil a month. I feel like both the online and the in-person pressure need to be constant and on a daily basis. Yeah, Shan, it is really sick, but it's just so important that we respond to it. Oh, good. Jose Rivera is on the YouTube chat right now. Fantastic. There's also Lavalero. I'm not sure how to say it. There's a number of Ecuadorian citizens who are active in our Discord and who are absolutely brilliant at bringing us current news from what's going on inside of Ecuador, and analysing legal documents and translating things. That's something else I want to talk about. Our translation team has been producing such high quality translations that you see even Julian Assange account, which is now at Assange Defense, the old at Julian Assange account, and WikiLeaks have been tweeting them out as unofficial translations. So the work that you guys are doing in our translations team is truly beneficial and truly helpful, and I'm really proud of what you guys are doing in there. And I've seen translations of memes and social media content. I've seen translations of articles, both English to Spanish and Spanish to English. And I've seen translations of transcripts of YouTube content and other things. It's just absolutely fantastic what's happening in there. It's really amazing. If you're watching the stream and you have not joined our Discord, you can by going to unity4j.com/Discord. Hoodie Woman Louisiana says, is there access to Trump to tell him he is complicit directly and responsible personally should Julian die? That is, Trump is an interesting quantity in all of this. So there are a number of Trump supporters who have been tricked, in my opinion, into believing that Trump is going to protect Julian if Julian is arrested or detained or extradited. That is bullshit. That is total and complete bullshit. There's no other word that I can use there. There's also a number of supporters who have been have had various elements trying to convince them that it would somehow be good for Julian to be extradited to the United States. Now, the best fact-based debunking of that claim is actually in Christine Assange's message on the Unity4J YouTube channel. So go and watch it because she gives many reasons why that's not the case. But I would personally like to remind you of what John Kiriakou, the CIA torture whistleblower, said on our online vigil. John Kiriakou said that within minutes of Julian being detained by the UK, every US intelligence agency is going to be on a plane to London. They are not going to wait until Julian is extradited to the US to torture and interrogate him. They will do it while he's still in the UK. So this idea that Julian would be somehow benefited by being detained by the UK or extradited to the US is complete and utter nonsense. And you should push back hard against anybody who's making that claim. Because yet again, that claim is for the benefit not of Julian, but of those who are persecuting Julian. That's what they want. They want Julian brought to the US. They want Julian handed over to the UK. You can read it in the letters from the senators. You can see it in Mike Pence's meetings in Ecuador with Moreno. That's what they want. So whenever you hear in a group of WikiLeaks supporters that we should want something that Julian's persecutors want, that should be ringing massive alarm bells. That's when you should be going, hang on, why would we want what they want? We don't want what they want. We want the opposite of what they want. So please do not be fooled, because I know well-meaning people think to themselves, oh, well, maybe everything will be better if Julian goes to trial. No, it won't. So these people, I don't personally believe they even want to prosecute him. I think they want to torture and interrogate the crap out of him so that they can get all the information that they don't have, which they think that he possesses. They want to know about the security files, for example. They want to know about the inner processes and workings of WikiLeaks. They want to know they want access to the knowledge that's inside Julian's brain. And they will torture him and they will interrogate him in order to attempt to get that. Now, I trust Julian to be smart enough to have made sure that even he doesn't possess a lot of that knowledge. In my personal opinion, Julian has spent years planning for these various eventualities, but it won't stop them from trying. At the end of the day, they want to punish him for outing their corruption and their crimes. And they've been waiting 8 years to do it. And they will be rubbing their hands together with glee at the prospect of the UK detaining him and extraditing him to the USA. So please do not listen to people who tell you it is a good thing for Julian to go to the US. Do not listen to people who tell you Julian should just walk out of the embassy. Julian should just hand himself over. Do not listen to them. These are the narratives that serve empire. These are the narratives that serve the people who are persecuting Julian. Yeah, Harold Hedge, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. At the end of the day, Trump will side with intelligence agencies. And I mean, many people say, oh, the intelligence agencies are against Trump, Trump's against the intelligence agencies. You need to look below the surface of what's on the news. You've got to stop watching CNN and Fox. It's not one or the other that's fake news. They're both fake news. Trump, one of the first things he did when he got into power was increase the ability of the CIA to autonomously run drone operations and decide who they assassinate around the world. Okay, Trump just got them another $700 billion for more war. Trump is fully complicit with the system, the murderous system that Julian's life work opposes. Trump might have thought the releases on Hillary and the DNC were politically convenient and hilarious. But Trump did not think the Iraq war logs, Afghanistan war logs, the GI Stratfor leaks, every other publication was hilarious. Trump was outright for the death penalty for Julian. So anybody, Brian Crosby is saying QAnon is spewing that propaganda. Absolutely. And why are they doing it? They're doing it to disempower people. They're doing it so people, because I mean, think about it. You got two options, right? You can either go, oh, maybe everything will be okay, and therefore I don't have to take any action or inconvenience myself. Or you can go, shit, crisis time, we have to take action, and you have to get off your butt and do something. Like, it's very comforting to think that you don't have to do anything, but the reality is we do. We do. We have to organize. We have to take action. We have to fight. And at this point, I don't really care how that happens, and I don't care who's doing it. Okay, I don't want people to wait for me to say, go and do this, go and do that. I want people to, of their own initiative, go and do it themselves. You come up with a good idea, go and make it happen. You know, I said today on Twitter, that's what makes the world turn, and it's true. People who get off their butts and go and take action is what makes this world turn. Not sitting around and waiting for someone to tell you. So go for it. By all means, support Uni4J and everything we do, you know, if you're so inclined, but don't let that take your personal agency. Your personal agency has to rule your decisions. Stephanie Marsilia says, until there is a shred of evidence that Trump supports the First Amendment and Julian Assange, it's naive to think he has a plan. Well, even if he had a plan, John Kiriakou saying those intelligence agencies are going to be on the first plane to the UK, you know, that's the reality. We don't have time on our side to be just trying to do one big march in 3 months' time. We won't have time on our side to wait for a trial. If Julian is in custody, a trial will be a show trial, as Christine Assange said, but it will take years to even manifest at all. This is a fight for Julian's life now. This is a fight for his life, and we can't afford to lose it. We really can't afford to lose it. And Altus, they're not going to let Julian walk away no matter what he agrees to. Julian won't, on principle, agree to losing his political voice. He won't compromise on basic human rights, and nor should he, because that too would set a terrible precedent. What needs to happen is we need to fight for his rights to be restored. We need to do it in a myriad of ways and all over the world and en masse until they're forced to listen. Emma Beveridge, I don't like seeing people say he needs to, the types of things that you just said. I won't repeat it. we need to focus on viable actions and not on action movie stuff. We're not going to be able to smuggle him out by whatever means. Okay, I can tell you that every single conceivable viable option has already been considered by Julian's lawyers and the previous Ecuadorian government as to how to get Julian out of there. And I can also tell you, as was mentioned at the emergency meeting by people who are in the know, that he is sitting in the middle. He is the most surveilled person on this planet. A butterfly can't fly past the door of the embassy without a multitude of Western governments knowing it. So the idea that we can somehow do some rogue operation to extract him is just pie in the sky nonsense. Let's stay focused on what we actually can do. Okay, what we actually can do. We can hold vigils outside the embassy. We can go and bang pots and pans and make a massive racket outside Harrods and disrupt shopping and in commercial zones. We can poster and flyer and sticker. We can keep making music and songs and have musicians playing there, and we can create independent media, and we can bring high profile people together for online events. We can do a lot of things. We can chalk the pavement. We can fundraise for WikiLeaks. We can translate legal documents and do all the types of work that's been done on the Discord. These are things we can do. What we can't do is try to, act like we're in the Bourne Identity movie or something. That is not viable. Grant, I agree with you that no president controls the intelligence agencies. I completely agree with you, but I also, Clinton and Trump are of the same class. That's a fact. I put out a tweet yesterday which got a lot of retweets and a lot of likes, like over 1,500 likes, I think, on it so far. And my tweet was very simple. It just said, who won the midterms? Was it the war party or the war party? And that's the bottom line. The bottom line is that both the Democrats and the Republicans are the war party. And, by all means, support Democrats if you want to, support Republicans if you want to. I'm not saying don't support them, but I'm just telling you, both of those parties have a very long history of consistently strengthening the intelligence agencies and starting wars. Hope K, you're absolutely right. Hope says we've done a lot and it's amazing, actually. It's so easy to forget that Discord has only existed for 3 months. Maybe, I think, 3.5 months now. 3.5 months ago, our organizing platform didn't exist. And since then, we have produced God knows how much content, how many events, hundreds of pictures and graphics and hundreds of videos and songs and music and podcasts, and we've even got merchandise in the official WikiLeaks shop. We have done so much, so many statements and translations and so much research and so much outreach. But we've only just begun as well. This really is just a start, and this is something else. There's another conversation I really want to have with you guys. It's really important for me to have with you guys, and that's that I never intended to front this movement. Ever. I had absolutely zero desire to be in a leadership position within this movement. I don't think it's desirable for us to have a leader at all. I actually think it's a liability to have a leader. And that's why I'm constantly nagging on about decentralization, because if this movement relies on me, then it has already failed. It has already failed if it relies on me. Like, I understand that for a multitude of reasons, it's been convenient to have me front it. And I understand that I've been able to contribute certain skills and to bring certain experience to the table. But ultimately, this movement has got to be carried forward by all of the participants in it. I actually would like very much to extract myself from it, to be honest with you. I work not to extract myself from the cause, I will always support WikiLeaks, always, and I will always support Julian, and I will always do whatever I can. I feel very responsible. I have a huge sense of responsibility to not drop the ball and not stop working. But at the same time, and I think that the WikiBees model is a really great way to do it. I would very much like to transition from me pushing things along to the movement operating and running itself. Now, I couldn't do anything without all of the people that have been involved in this. Like this has never been just me. I couldn't have done all of the things that I just listed before that have been achieved. That has been the movement and the people in the movement. But I would like the movement to become self-perpetuating so that I don't have to say, now we're going to put out a press release, now we're going to put together media resources, we're going to have an event on this date, blah, 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 blah. I want to get to the point where the movement says, we know we're going to have an event, our monthly event is on this day, we need to do these things in order to make that happen, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And for the movement to grow organically. We have 30 moderators on the Discord platform, which form the core of this movement. The core in terms of the administration of the platforms. Harold saying he fears that I put myself at risk. Harold, I could give a flying crap less about the risk, to be honest with you. To be honest with you, you have to choose in this lifetime comfort or conscience. You must choose comfort or conscience. Long ago, I chose conscience. I gave up. I had comfort and I gave it up. That was my choice. My choice. I chose conscience over comfort. Everybody has to make that choice for themselves, whether they are willing to give up comfort for conscience. And when enough people on this planet are willing to give up comfort for conscience, there's going to be massive widespread change. Massive widespread change, because comfort is the carrot that they dangle in front of us. They say, if you just turn a blind eye to the wars, if you just turn a blind eye to the corruption, if you just silence yourself, if you just don't say anything, if you don't exercise political speech, if you don't involve, if you say, oh, I don't care about politics, if you silence yourself in these ways, you can have comfort. You can work in a corporation, you can have some money, you can live in your little house and have your little car. And there are everybody who you find in the ranks of the system are people who have chosen comfort and silenced their conscience. So don't worry about risk to me, because I chose conscience over comfort. That's what in New Zealand we call it mana, okay? In New Zealand, the way that you feel about yourself and the decisions that you have made and the actions you have taken and the respect that you have for yourself and your integrity, this is your mana. Mana is, as many other things, it's also community prestige bestowed upon you by your greater community at large and your extended family and your society as a result of those same things that I just said, the choices that you made, et cetera, okay? My personal mana is derived from my choices and my choice to fight for what is right and to not be silent instead of being comfortable. So that's my choice. So don't feel sorry for me and don't worry about me, because Serena Shim said you should rather die on her feet than live on her knees. Okay, that's the choice I made. I will not live on my knees. I will not be silent while watching the world get destroyed. I will not be silent. And this is this is also a mantra of the Occupy movement. I will not be silent. I will not take your money and some physical comfort and silence my conscience. So, but everybody has to make that choice for themselves, and everyone has different breaking points, as to how much they can tolerate. how much injustice they can tolerate before they make that same choice. But never ever take action out of fear, because this is the other thing I've tried to explain before. That fear is the core weapon of these agencies. They make you scared. Scared you'll lose this, scared you'll lose that, scared you'll be discomforted, scared you'll lose friends, scared you'll lose reputation, scared you'll lose money. Fear is, I just said before that comfort is the carrot, fear is the stick. So they dangle the comfort in front of you, that's the carrot, to corrupt you. And fear is the stick that they use. So that they beat you with. They want you to be afraid. When you let that go, when you let the fear go, and you act on your conscience and what is inside you, you are free. You are free. So don't, and when you're studying the narratives and what people are saying and how they're responding, any narrative that is fear-driven, for example, oh, but we might piss off Harrods and Harrods might get upset and they might go and complain to the embassy. This is a fear narrative. It's a narrative of fear. That is either derived from the system or derived from those who are still controlled by the system. The narrative that we have to embrace is the narrative of conscience. And the narrative of conscience is, we will not let them take Julian. We will not let them kill Julian. We will take action, and we will be the element of change. We will change the outcome of the situation. So that's what you need to listen to. You need to ignore the fear narratives and always keep your eyes on the prize. Always keep your eyes on the prize. Never, ever be deterred. Why are we here? Because we care about Julian. What do we want? We want Julian free. How are we going to do that? We're going to rise and be his voice. We're going to take action. We're going to make noise. We're going to build systems that support him. Emma Beveridge, I didn't think your idea was bad. I thought that your idea was unrealistic, and I've seen a lot of people say similar ideas. So, like, we should do a guerrilla operation and blah, blah, blah. To me, this is not viable, okay? We're not all going to get dressed up in black and have some secret weapons and spirit Julian out. This is unrealistic thinking or talking. But what we can do is use tactics that are proven protest tactics from other movements and other locations around the world. And we can follow the model of mass movements that have been successful, such as the Free Mandela movement. And how you do that is by outreach and by sustained action and by democratic and peaceful means. You get a much better response. Okay, any questions, you guys? And then I'm going to bring Bruce and some of our other movement people in to talk about what has been going on. KM, can you please answer my question regarding clergy? You are by Harrods. Clergy does have medical training. Okay, I'm not sure entirely what that question is there. Can you repeat it for me, please? Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up, guys. There's reams and reams of chat. Oh, okay. So Kame had said clergy has medical training. If they decline him seeing clergy, they're going against their own country's foundation. Okay, so one of the groups that is supporting Julian is the Catholic Workers Foundation. And previously, I know he's not Catholic, he's Anglican, I'm pretty sure, but previously Father Dave had been going in and spending time with Julian and doing boxing training with Julian, all kinds of things. The support of the Catholic Church, I agree, would be really important for Julian. So if you can help to be a part of outreach to Catholic organizations, that would be huge. I'm not sure whether a priest would be allowed to see him. I mean, his own lawyers weren't allowed to see him over the weekend. I'm really not sure, but I totally agree. I think as many organizations as we can get on and support is, all the better. Particularly, I don't think you have to be religious to want religious people to be a part of supporting Julian. And someone says, can we get the Pope to intervene? This is an idea that's come up time and time again. And I think the answer is that I can't get the Pope to intervene, but all of us can probably get the Pope to intervene. If we manage to raise enough noise to get the Pope to intervene, then maybe he will. It's all going to come down to us. Oh, wow. I've just been told that Jose from Ecuador is here and wants to speak with us here on the stream. Fantastic. This will be the first time that we've had someone from Ecuador on the panel. Jose, I cannot. Oh. Hi, I can hear you now.
Oh, hi there. Yes, I can hear you.
But I can't see you. Am I meant to see you?
Well, I can't show my face because it's too dangerous right now.
No problem. No problem. Okay, Jose, thank you so much for being here. It's incredible. Please tell us everything you can about the current situation, and please tell us what you want from us and how we can support the Ecuadorians who are fighting for Julian.
Well, as you know, yesterday, Lenin Moreno sent I think around 9 names of judges for the Supreme Court, which here we call the Corte Nacional. So, they were chosen by him. So they are going to do whatever he tells them to do. Hello?
How are those judges usually selected? What's the
Yes, they are usually selected by a special test. So if they pass a test, they are selected, and then they go to the names go to the National Assembly, and that's how they are placed in the Supreme Court. But right now, Lenin is breaking the law, and he's just naming them.
So, in your opinion, this is the transition to an actual dictatorship, where the executive controls the judiciary?
Well, yes. Well, we are in a dictatorship because anytime the president controls all the branches of government, and thus then we have a dictatorship. And today's Correa court against him is an example of that. So democracy in Ecuador is in bad shape.
Now, we recently heard that the charges against, or the investigation against Correa had been dropped, but then today there seemed to be news to the contrary. Can you explain to us what's happening with Correa now?
Yes, the case, the judge tried to open the case several times, but there was no evidence. And all of a sudden, today we wake up to find that that there is enough evidence to accuse him. Excuse me. So that's an example of the control of the courts that Lenin has. And if you look at the video, it's in exactly the same place where Assange is going to go. Can you imagine that?
So, Jose, can you tell me about some of the actions that Ecuadorians have been taking recently to try to resist this?
Well, the Lenin Moreno has permanently placed the fences around the presidential palace, and he removes it, you know, at his will. You know, if he sees that there is going to be a protest, he orders the fences to be blocked. So, but as you saw on the video, how they were hitting the fence with the coins. So that, and also as you today, there was a protest outside of the Corte Nacional building. So, and there were also protests in another city. So, you know, we would like to, you know, the Ecuadorian people to begin rising, you know, little by little.
I'm just furiously retweeting at the moment, Jose, to try to let people know that you're on the stream. Can I ask every single person who's watching, can you please go to Twitter, go to Facebook, go to every social media platform and pass people the link to the stream? unity4j.com/stream will bring people to the stream. Let them know that this is happening. So, Jose, I haven't seen any mainstream media coverage of the protests of Ecuadorian people against Moreno. Has there been any? Or are you
Yes,
being
the
silent?
media is complete silent. Yes, it's complete silence. We have made 2 massive protests of more than 10,000 people each, and there is not a single mention in the media, in the Ecuadorian media.
We also know that some Ecuadorian journalists have been detained. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yes, they. You see, they are, you know, they are trying to find even the smallest excuse to prosecute Correa. So that was one of the avenues that they opened to accuse him. So the journalists that were jailed, they used to work for the government communications agency that Correa created, but Lenin closed that agency, and he is accusing all the journalists that worked there before. For Correa, he's accusing them of corruption, and he has now jailed several.
Okay, so what can this movement do, Jose, to support you? What, like, I assume your protesters are aware that there is an international movement to support Julian.
Well, you know, I think, you know, I think you should take advantage of all these illegal things that Correa, I mean, that Lenin is making right now, you know. So, you know, to try to take advantage of that. For example, the treatment of our Vice President-elect Glass. That's an example. He was moved from Quito jail to another jail to the south. This jail is full of criminals, terrorists, you name it. It doesn't have bathrooms. You know, so he is one of those jail cells. Our vice president was elected by the Ecuadorian people. He sent them there. You know, it is extremely cold at night. The health conditions there are terrible. No running water. So as you can see, you know, so that's why I had commented, you know, you can see all these things that Lenin has done, and you can see where the protocol for Assange came from, you know.
Right. So it is. It's not just a campaign. They're not just trying to get rid of Assange. It's actually a campaign to purge Ecuador of all dissent.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. He wants to get rid of Glass. He wants to kill him. He wants Glass to disappear from the planet because, you know, he's an obstacle for Lenin. And that's why Lenin sent Glass to jail, you see, because Glass was on his way. He couldn't govern and do all the changes that he has made if Glass would have remained as vice president.
Right, okay. Jose, is it mainly citizen journalists now that are reporting from Ecuador?
Yes, because I find a lot of things on the social media because the newspapers, all the media in Ecuador is controlled by the government and and the owners of the TV channels and newspapers.
Okay, I'd like to ask of everybody watching if you have questions. Yeah, Bruce King's asking any questions for Jose. Anything that you want to know about the situation in Ecuador right now, please ask, and I'll ask Jose on the stream. So how quickly did this happen, Jose? How quickly after the election of Moreno did it become apparent?
It just almost from the first day that he became president, because when the inauguration day for president on the first day, Correa saw several right-wing guests that Lenin had invited. So that was that was the first thing that he commented. That he did not like what he was seeing.
And can you give us a little bit of the history of Ecuador have dictatorships of purges?
Well, Ecuador has not had that many dictatorships, just a few, and the military dictatorships that we've had, maybe two, they were all nationalists, military nationalists. So, but they were at other times. So at that time we did not have the oil production that we have now. So at that time it had just started. So now the economic picture is making Lenin is converting Ecuador into a debtor nation, into a nation that borrows a lot of money to the international bank, and that's where we are going now.
Someone is asking, does Correa still have any influence, and can he slow Moreno down?
Yes, and yes, he can stop Moreno right on his tracks, and that is where the accusations in court against Correa mean. Lenin wants to put a legal accusation, a condemnation by the, they want the courts to condemn him as a thief or a criminal. So in order to make it illegal for Correa to participate in the next elections.
Someone is asking, do you believe that the US is behind all of this?
Yes, the US is behind this. In fact, the guy who is accusing Correa of having orchestrated a supposedly kidnapping in Colombia, he is a CIA guy. He's a CIA guy. He was deeply involved with Álvaro Uribe. I don't know if a lot of people know about the Colombian ex-president, extreme right wing, and they all know that he was the U.S. guy in Colombia. So this guy received training in electronic surveillance in Colombia, and Álvaro Uribe people gave him equipment to bring to Ecuador and do surveillance on the Ecuadorian government of Correa. And that's why Correa, found out, and he had a arrest warrant, and he escaped to Colombia. he was also in Miami, by the way. I'm sure in Miami he received good training. I can bet on that.
Chat is asking if Moreno was a Trojan horse all along, or was it money and intimidation that turned him once he was elected?
Well, you know, yes,
meaning,
yes, he was a Trojan horse, yes, all the time. Yes, he waited quietly for 10 years. Yes, Lenin waited for 10 years quietly, you know, waiting for his chance, you know, and he got it. And that's how he became president.
Is there any hope or chance of Correa returning to Ecuador?
If he is sentenced by a court on criminal charges, the law will make it illegal for Correa to participate in the next elections.
So that would be a carbon copy of what we saw happen in Brazil.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, that's the idea. So that's why the U.S. is behind this. It is not a coincidence that this is the same thing is happening in several countries.
So it's an agenda to control South America.
Yes. Well, you know, the U.S. controls Central America already, and God knows, you know, I would say 90% of Mexico.
Is there any hope? I'm being asked if there's any hope that if the people of Ecuador have any hope that they can regain control of the country.
Well, you know, the media has played a key role into you know, planting an image of a negative image of our movement, of the progressive movement, and of Rafael Correa. So at the end of the 10 or 11 years, you know, the people have that message in their head. So you know, it's kind of difficult to overcome that. You find on the street the professionals, you know, lawyers that have that image, and it's so irrational.
Right, but what is the image of Moreno?
Well, you know, he used his image as a you know, as a handicapped person. I respect all handicapped people. My son is handicapped, so but he's using that image, you know, to push his agenda. It's a media thing, you know.
Right. So the media are they reporting on, you know, what he's done with the Supreme Court judges, etc.?
They are reporting it as a normal event, you know. They are not questioning the legality of the naming of the Supreme Court judges. They just put on the paper, you know, the name, the following names of the judges were, you know, submitted to be approved as a Supreme Court judges.
Is there
yeah?
Is there any opportunity to impeach Moreno? Can he be impeached?
Well, the National Assembly is controlled by the right wing because Lenin Moreno has like about 60 or so votes, and the rest of the right wing media politicians, you know, have the rest of the votes. Our party, has around 17 votes. So there are about 140, 141 legislators in the National Assembly. So you can add the votes, you know. We don't have the votes.
So the right wing holds the balance of power.
Yes, exactly.
And Moreno entered into a coalition with them?
Well, you see, my theory is that the right wing, the elites they are using Moreno. So once they have a control of the power, they will just, set him aside, and they will use their media, their media that they own to attack Lenin later. And yesterday, the CNE, which is the electoral office of the government that controls the voting system, Correa had the ISO standards recognize the voting system for Ecuador. And yesterday, the ISO removed it, and the electoral office of Ecuador also asked the OAS not to send the election officials for next presidential elections in Ecuador, because they will not accept them here. So they have set up the electoral system to have a fraud, voting fraud.
Bruce is asking how much of a role social media plays in public opinion with Ecuadorians. Do they talk to each other over social media?
Well, it's divided, It's divided. I don't have the numbers to answer that question, but one thing I can tell you, our political party is the biggest party in Ecuador, and we were denied a political recognition in the electoral system. We don't have a party. We don't have a political party to participate in next elections.
It's so reminiscent to me of the situation in Brazil, because pretty much everything you're telling me mirrors exactly what's happening there. The media situation, the presence of the right wing, the fact that the largest political party and largest political base of support is in fact the left, but that they are shut out of the presidency and shut out of control of the National Assembly.
Yes, well, there was an electoral fraud there too, because you got to remember, just 3 months before, Lula da Silva had a 30% acceptance for being as president, and Bolsonaro, who is the president now, he only had 17. Now, can you explain? Can we ask ourselves how the hell did Bolsonaro, got 50% or so? It's impossible. So there are rumors of big fraud, electoral fraud in Brazil.
Yes, there seems to be a recurrent theme even in the Western nations, where, for example, Debbie Washington Schultz this week in Florida. This is one of the most discredited politicians in the history of US politics, and somehow they get into power again and again and again.
Yes.
Okay, exactly. Jose, were you able to hear the message from Julian Assange over the weekend?
A little bit. I did not watch the whole thing because I was not here.
No. Right, because one of the things I'm wondering is there good penetration of the English language media about Julian's situation generated by movements like this into Ecuador? I'm wondering how much the messages from Ecuador getting into English-speaking media, and how much is English-speaking media getting into the people of Ecuador?
No, not much, because you see here is all Spanish. So English media is nothing here at all. When I have gone out to protest, a few people recognize Assange's face, So, Assange is, a lot of people don't know who he is. Or, other times they see the picture of him, but they don't know exactly, the details.
It's just incredible to me that that can be the case. I completely believe you, but it's remarkable that that's the case. So that's making me think, what can we do better in order to get those messages to them? For example, I think that every Ecuadorian should be able to hear the message from Christine Assange. How do we get that to them?
I think I saw Rafael Correa tweeted about the Mrs. Assange message, but how many people are going to watch that message? Because as you know, you put a message in Twitter, and in a few seconds, it's already gone down the message list.
Timeline, right? I didn't know that Correa had tweeted about it. I'm going to check that out right now. So yeah. I think that we need to pretty urgently get a Spanish translation done, a Spanish voiceover of Christine's message. Now, where are the best places on the internet for us to get that message to the Ecuadorian people?
Yes, well, I couldn't say, because I do not belong to any of the media.
Is it Facebook? Yeah. Is it? I mean, where is the best place?
Because you see, here Spanish is controls everything. English, it's almost nothing. Almost nothing. Because I can tell you from the reactions that I've had on the tweets I made, maybe one or two people has reacted to my tweets in English. So it's not that widespread. The Assange name in social media. Only my comrades in my party know who he is.
Right. Okay, I'm looking at Correa's timeline. I don't yet see the message from Christine, but I see he has been tweeting a lot of videos of protest action in Ecuador that yes. I hadn't seen, which tells me that the vast majority of what's happening there we are actually unaware of. Now, how useful is RT Spanish? I know they must broadcast in Ecuador, right? The RT Spanish channel?
Yes, they this afternoon, just a couple of hours ago, RT News, I saw a newscast in English on the situation of Rafael Correa at the court today. I have not checked the Spanish version, but I'm sure they did a report on that. They are always they keep updated on the Ecuadorian news.
Right, but are they accessible in Ecuador to Ecuadorians? Can they watch RT Spanish in their homes?
Yes, they can. And also Tevesur is also watched here.
Okay, good. So there is some access to a different narrative.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So the only exposure that I can imagine doing is going to the streets and showing the pictures of Assange and Glass, and that's what I'm doing.
Right. So do you have other people in Ecuador who could take over the Unity for, I think it's Unity for S is our Unity for J Spanish account. Let me just have a look. Because I think it would be very, very helpful to, as much as possible, get the Unity for J. Oh yeah, it's got a couple hundred followers. I'm looking at it now.
Yes.
Yeah, it should be much more active. Much more
yes.
active, because only periodically.
Yes.
I could get you the login details to that account if you're willing to use it. What we need is to increase that information flow both ways. so that our English content is being translated into Spanish for the Ecuadorian people, and so that Spanish content is being translated into English for us, so that we can have a better understanding of what's going on down there. For example, when you have live actions, when you have protest actions, if we can know about it in advance, then we can assign a large number of people to getting the news about that out to the world, and to, especially on social media, but also through media contacts. So I'd like to increase the cooperation there.
Yes, well, I'm in contact with several groups that have gone out to protest. So I have to, talk to them, and I've been trying to get them together, and form, something similar to Unity for J, but for Ecuador in Spanish and the rest of Latin America. But I have not had success on that yet.
Right. And the other thing too is that you may want to consider at a certain point, it may be safer for you to be a known quantity than to try to be anonymous, because I know from personal experience that it's a lot easier to give you support if you are, if people do recognize you. And I'm just giving you that piece of personal advice, because
Yes.
you know the types of technology that are available to these agencies. They will track you down one way or another. So it's actually it's actually better for people to see your face, know your name, know what you're doing, and to be able to support you, and for you to have that visibility. I would, unless you are one of the people who can truly mask your identity, but that's very difficult. It's very difficult to do.
Yes, well, they used to live here a journalist from Chile, and he had to leave the country because he received death threats.
It happens too often, and even in Western countries, and it's hidden. It's hidden. The fact that happens is hidden from the world.
Yes.
I know of a number of Western journalists who have been killed, and the Western press organizations will not list their names, will not report their names. On the freedom of the press registers, they don't include their cases. They just pretend it never happened so that they can keep up this image of there being free press in the West, but there isn't free press anywhere on this planet. I think maybe Iceland or something is about it, but anywhere else. I mean, we've had Australian journalists killed in Indonesia. We've had New Zealand journalists killed in Turkey last year. We've had everywhere. So I totally understand, and it's a horrifying thing that we have to operate in those conditions, and we have to continue to fight. And the only way that we really can overcome it is with the support of the general population, with the support of the people. Okay.
Yes.
Jose, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, here they will kill you right outside of your door here.
Yeah.
That's how it is here, you see.
I understand. In the West, they generally try to make it appear to be a suicide, or make it appear to be an accident or an illness, or some kind of cover. Generally speaking, sometimes they don't. Sometimes, if you're Michael Hastings, they just blow your car up in the middle of the Los Angeles Boulevard. But most of the time, they try to have a cover story for whatever it is that has happened.
Yes, exactly.
But I understand, particularly in South America, that they don't even bother with such niceties.
No, they don't. They just kill you, and that's it,
Yeah. What messages, are there any messages that you would like to get out to us? Anything else that you would like to say to us?
Well, yes,
we are at your service. So, and I mean that sincerely. Anything that we can do that you want us to do, please tell us.
Yeah, I think it's very important that you establish contact with our leaders. Rafael Correa, he is the main one because he is the most powerful politician in Ecuador. So he has a lot of, he has a lot of weight. So he is one of the persons that you should contact.
What do you want from Korea?
Well, no, you as a big organization like you are, I think you should link now Glass and Assange, in a way, I wouldn't know how to do it exactly.
Right, and somebody has just said the hunger strike of Glass is like now we have reports that Julian is being denied food at the Ecuadorian embassy. They're saying
yes, because we had a 4-day holiday, and probably they just locked the door at the embassy, and and they forgot about they didn't care about Assange, eating or not.
I can't express the rage that makes me feel. It is absolutely horrific.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so all I can. Oh, now this the protest where they were banging the coins against the presidential palace gates. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, he has these metal fences that he has them in permanent place, because they have spies, and they know when someone is planning a protest, they right away put them, and they circle the whole palace. They close all the streets around the presidential palace so that no one goes in there.
So it was a planned protest then?
Yes. They know when there is going to be a protest at the presidential palace, so they are kind of waiting for them. They just close it with fences, and that's it.
Right, because it seemed an interesting tactic to me that they were banging the fences with coins. I thought it was brilliant. It was actually brilliant.
Yes. The policeman was telling them not to push the fences, but the lady was telling him, "We're not pushing the fences. We're just hitting it with coins." So the police guy finally shut up and couldn't say anything.
And it made a great amount of noise, which was brilliant. All these coins hitting it was a huge amount of noise.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So,
Well, Jose, you're welcome on this stream anytime that you ever want to come on and talk to people. And like I said, we're at your service. So anything that you can think of that we can do to help, we absolutely will. We absolutely will do so.
Yeah, just contact the big man, Rafael Correa. He's the guy who can do a lot of things.
So that was what I was trying to ask. What is it that you would like from Correa? Like, what would your message to Correa be?
Well, Correa, I'm not sure about what the strategy would be to involve Assange and Glass as a media event, So I don't know how I would do it, but it's something that you guys have to think about, how to approach that.
Okay, and I'm being told that Glass today was denied access to his lawyers.
Yes, Lenin prohibited the visits, all visits, by his wife and children and by his lawyers. They cannot see him. No one can see him.
What is it that Moreno wants from Glass? Like,
yes.
why is he punishing him? I mean, you said he wants to get rid of him, but did he actually? But did he want something from Glass that Glass wouldn't give him?
Because you see, Glass is a political symbol of Lenin.
Okay. So he's the inheritor.
Yes.
He's the natural inheritor of the legacy.
Right. So if he dies, no one talks about him anymore, you see.
And then there's no one else?
No, because he's the only one left in government. The rest, they were all fired, and and they were all fired, and some of them are in prison. Others are being, sued by false accusations.
Unbelievable, and yet so believable.
Yes.
So now, how did Correa initially get into power? There was they call it the People's Revolution, right?
Well, he made a presidential campaign for the first time, like all candidates.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did not mention anything about the people, or he was just one more candidate, but he had more charisma, and he was more his message was simple and clear, so that's why he won.
Simple and clear and legitimate.
Yes, exactly.
He carried through on what he promised.
Yes, he did more than that. Believe me, he transformed Ecuador. He took it several decades into the future, because we were behind, like in the 50s.
Incredible.
Yes.
And so now the dream is to get him back, right?
Yes. Well, by law, he cannot be a president, because Lenin made that illegal, popular consultation, and so one of the questions was to eliminate re-election by a president.
And yet, many things that Moreno have done are also against the law.
Yes. He, as soon as that popular vote passed, he began to break the law and break the Constitution at his will. So he had the media behind. The media is the most powerful weapon. Without the media, he couldn't have done it.
And for many years, I remember Correa complaining that the media were being used to subvert democracy in Ecuador.
Yes, exactly. He called them prensa corrupta in Spanish. Corrupt news media. That's how he used to call them all the time, and because he was right.
Okay, is there anything else you'd like to say, Jose, before we move on?
No, that would be all. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much for everything that you do. Thank you so much. I was just before speaking about the battle between comfort and conscience, and you are the ultimate example of somebody who holds conscience precious at the expense of comfort. Thank you so much for being here. It is a privilege. Amazing to have you. Okay, everybody watching, I hope that gives you some food for thought about the severity of what is going on at the moment and how many lives are on the line, because the realization that's just given me is that this fight to preserve Julian and what is being done to Julian is actually being done to millions of people. And it is the fight to preserve millions of people. It is no longer just the fight to preserve Julian. I think we need to take that seriously to heart, because many of us have the privilege to choose whether we rise and whether we act. But for many of the people in Ecuador, there is no choice. Just catching up on the comment section. Someone's asking, is there a legal way to demand to know if Julian is alive since he is completely isolated, and to demand Lennon to prove that he did not commit a crime inside the embassy? I'm not really sure entirely what you mean with the second part. In terms of the proof of life, we know for a fact that Julian is inside the embassy. There's absolutely zero doubt about that he is. There still is some channel of communication. In terms of the whole proof of life concept, I talked about this actually at the emergency meeting. You need to, if you want proof of life that Julian's in there, you need to demand it from Ecuador. You need to demand it from the UK. You need to call the Ecuadorian embassy and demand proof of life. That's who we should be putting pressure on to prove that. We should not be putting pressure on the family of Julian or anybody else. Proof of life is something that is demanded of kidnappers, not of the family of the kidnapped. So if you want to know these things, find the Twitter account for the UK Foreign Office and ask them every single day to prove it, by all means. Stephanie says that Correa's vision was to make Ecuador independent from foreign pressures. He created a new constitution which is internationally applauded. And that's the constitution that's being undermined right now. RSFO says not only the people of the USA live with the big lie, in many ways Europeans are more naive because they just think how the USA isn't a democracy, but neither are we, he's saying about Europe. Even the Scandinavian countries, they're total vassal states of the US empire, and people here don't understand it. Okay, this is a really big rabbit hole that's very easy to get down very fast. When you hear me talk in my interviews where I talk about the Snowden documents and what I've learned from analysing them, and when I talk about the global network, RSFO, the global network is the reason for what you're explaining right now. And that is that every country which is a captive of, or a participant, I consider them captives, but participants in the global intelligence network, the post 9/11 global intelligence network, they are homogenized. Their security infrastructure, their intelligence infrastructure, and therefore their political structures are homogenized, and they act as a single unit. And that is what you're seeing filter through in the subversion of their national identity and national sovereignty of each of those countries. What lies beneath that, it's like we see the symptoms on the surface, but what lies beneath those symptoms is the global what the NSA calls the global network. And that is the enmeshed security and intelligence apparatus of all of those countries, which includes all the Scandinavian countries, all of the NATO countries, certainly all the English-speaking countries, the Five Eyes, and Israel, and even half now, Saudi Arabia and everywhere else, half of the Middle East. So this global network is responsible for these manifestations of political problems that we see in many, many of these countries. And that is why the system we have to fight is a global system. And there is only a very small number of countries left which are not subject to that globe, which are not participants in the global network and not subject to it. And though that global network is what Julian has been exposing for many, many years. That global network is what he's been fighting against. That global network are the arbiters of the wars. They are the ones who came up with preemptive invasion as a concept, and endless war as a concept, and the war on terror being a global war. This was the concept. Remember George W. Bush saying, "The world is the battlefield." This is the attitude of the global network. The attitude is that the whole world is a battlefield, and that the war never ends. The war is on terror. It's not a war in a certain place where they declare the beginning and declare the end. It's a war on a concept. What they're really making war on is anything that opposes their total supremacy, their total worldwide supremacy, anyone and anything. And they use the combined powers of the global network, be that Europe, Scandinavia, the South Pacific, or the Middle East, wherever. They call them their partners, their partner agencies. They use that combined strength to attack and undermine any country or entity which stands in their way. And that's what we see in Ecuador. Ecuador was a country that was not a part of that global network. And Ecuador is now a country that at this moment in time absolutely is well on its way to being a part of that global network, if not already. And when you see the statement, the list of rules that was given to Julian Assange by the Ecuador, which was imposed upon Julian Assange by Ecuador, in those rules it said that they would collect the device serials of any visitor to Assange, and that they reserve the right to pass that information to the UK security agencies. That is the global network at play. They collect this information and they pass it to the global network. So that's as good, that type of behavior is as good as Ecuador being a member of the global network. Okay, I'm going to move back on to Unity for J. And I would love to hear some updates, because now I'm running out of voice again. I'd love to hear some updates from some of our crew. So we have here with us Bjorn Danielson, we have Bruce King, we have Evan Kim, and we have Elizabeth Katmima. So any of you guys that want to speak up and you have something to say, go for it. Come on, guys, take the floor. Bruce, you're talking, but you're muted. Everybody's muted, so you need to unmute yourself if you want to speak.
Oh, no, really, I just want to thank Jose for that wonderful interview and for his courage in doing what he does in such difficult circumstances, and for coming on. That was wonderful. Great interview too, Susie.
Thank you. I need to have a drink for a minute and try to get my voice back. I think most of you know I had a throat infection and then a really bad bout of laryngitis. And for about a week, I actually couldn't speak. Bruce knows, I was speaking in a tiny whisper. And I think you can hear now the croak is coming back in my voice. If I overuse it, I begin to lose it again. So I need to just really try to rest my voice and take it easy in the coming times. I did those 4 segments with Jimmy Dore, and right at the end of the 4th segment, I lost my voice. So it was lucky that I held out through those. And I know my voice was very croaky at the emergency meeting as well, so I'm sorry about that. We all do our best that we can under the circumstances. Okay, Bjorn, did you want to give us some kind of update?
Hello, do you hear me?
Yeah, go for it. I'll have my drink, but I'm right here.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm sitting here working.
You've got some new recruits. Now that's one piece of good news. I know that your team is expanding.
It's expanding, and we have a list of tasks that we're digging into. So I don't know if you noticed when we came on before I was pretty shocked, because I was actually playing along to you talking, and I think I found the perfect companion music for for your speech before. So, the site is actually up and running in a secret location, and people are working on it. So we're getting somewhere.
When can we see it? I know I'm always nagging, but
Yeah,
when can we see it?
Yeah, that's a secret. We'll tell when it's ready. But we're just doing the basics, the absolute minimum to get it up and running, and then we have a long list of things
Improvements
to have in time.
Cool. Okay, thank you for that. Evan, did you? Oh, was there something else you wanted to say, Bjorn?
Yeah, I was just wondering can you hear this?
Yeah, quietly. Yeah.
You heard a tone?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm just testing.
Okay.
I have this little funny thing lying next to me. Yeah.
Okay, we've got Evan come too. Evan is not often seen on our streams, but he's almost always in them, because Evan is the reason that we can stream to all the different platforms that we are. Hey, Evan.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, thank you for everything that you're doing.
Yeah, no worries. No need to thank me.
This happen.
So not many people actually on stream teams still. Actually, we seem to have less. But I've been playing around with a couple of things, and I'll just go ahead and share my screen. It's more stream stuff, but I kind of had an idea of something else as well. Let's see, trying to find. I have to use a different computer, because if I use the same computer I'm streaming on, then it messes up. Kind of weird. Can you guys see which one? What do you guys see? Oh, that's not it. Well, I guess this one I'll start with. So Kathy is looking to do her documentary. So I found got my old server up and running. It's actually got 96 gigabytes of memory. I was able to find some stuff. So it's got 12 cores, 24 logical processors. Working on upgrading some of the hardware. So it only has, it's an 8-disk RAID 10, but it only has 4 terabytes, but it's going to have 16 terabytes, I think. Let's see, yeah, 16 terabytes at least, if not 32 terabytes, plus an SSD or 2. And so I think what I also do is put a lot of the long videos that we have. This would also be where all the it'll default for the local recordings, so we don't have to keep uploading it to the video team. Video team can just grab it off of the FTP that I'll start. So right now it's just 2012 essentials, but I've got a key which will upgrade it to either 2016 or 2012 R2 data center. So that's in the works. It's got 96 gigabytes of memory. It only shows 64 because Essentials only limits it to that, and I also have a RAM disk set up, so it just gets faster throughput for video processing. So this will be pretty hefty for people to use. There will actually be a second. How do I stop sharing here? There will be a second server that I set up eventually. That I have something in the works. It's kind of a project of mine, but I think I might actually test it out and do something that's more WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, Unity4J related as my first prototype. The other thing that I kind of been working on a little bit just for fun. Gosh, why can't I share the correct screen? I'm trying to share the correct screen and I can't seem to do that right now. Maybe it's because I've got that remote desktop connection. All right, let me try it again. Oh, shoot. Okay, no wonder. It's supposed to be my main screen. So here, there are certain things that if you want to create transitions or just certain things that you want to show up on live streams, it's very difficult to. The reason is, well, OBS just doesn't have enough things where they can actually do that. So if I open up OBS, one of the things that I did was, can I mimic exactly what CNN does? And when CNN, and I just kind of did a video last night of just kind of making fun. So what CNN has is they just have this main one, and when there's a actual switch between that, it it moves to something else. So for example, let's do Chet Mangold. It goes to there, Chet's take, and then that. So I can change that to there. Now, another thing that's really difficult, and you can't even find a widget online that'll do this, is you can see this is the current time in Pacific time, and this is the current time in Eastern time. And it just switches between the two. And it's to do that, I had to create a little bit of CSS and a little bit of JavaScript. It's not very clean. I just wanted to make it work. And so this is just a JavaScript right here. And that just gets the time with the offset for UTC. That's why you will see the PT. And then this is just the rest of it, it's all CSS. Sorry for boring people with like tech stuff. It's not really techy. So here you can see just the time update. You can actually add in seconds, whatever. So all that is just fed into the OBS, and that's what makes it look good. And then you can create certain types of images as well. So you've got this where I'm just kind of manipulating CSS a little bit. So this just kind of glows for each letter throughout the words. I haven't gotten quite making it, because it uses spans, and that's not a good way to do it. All of this kind of spaced out big. So it's not the best, but it's just a way to get it done. And so that's just kind of what I've been practicing, just to see if I can do it. And I mean, what makes CNN or any other big budget place authentic, I guess, for people to watch. They get distracted just by a lot of information that just kind of scrolls while they're just watching someone talking about certain subjects. So anything that they can do, we can do if we wanted to. That's pretty much it. Anyone else?
You're not going to actually play the clip of Chet Mangold?
You can find it on my YouTube, Periscope, or whatever. It's a little silly. I don't really dress up, but I figure if I'm going to be on a respectable activism thing, I might as well wear not my usual T-shirt and my crazy hair. So I just put on a suit and with the backdrop, and it looks like I'm actually from like a news channel. I have a green screen in the back. It's just for fun, really.
Right, okay, I just want to say something actually. You guys might remember a couple of weeks ago I had a little rant about Snowden and Israel. I was right. So I'm going to have a little chat about this with you. There had been some criticism. The criticism was coming from, what's her face now? I don't remember her name. At Mint Press News. Mint Press News is usually a really, really good news source. There was a journalist at Mint Press News who I had written about briefly in Being Julian Assange, the giant piece I wrote about Julian earlier in the year. That journalist had been attacking Glenn Greenwald and Snowden and The Intercept, and I'd written a pretty spirited defense of that and why I thought she was wrong. Well, in recent weeks, she had been saying that the fact that Snowden would speak in Israel, in Tel Aviv, he had a scheduled appearance there, that was an affront to the BDS movement and that he should be participating in the boycott and not speaking in Israel. My response to that on stream, can't remember when it was, sometime in the last couple of weeks, was that if Snowden was speaking in Israel, he would not be doing it as entertainment for Israel, but that he would be ripping the shit out of Israel for their complicity in the global network, their surveillance abuses and whatnot. I've just now seen the media that's come out. It looks like he spoke there yesterday. And let's just have a little look at what it was that he said. Israeli spyware may have helped Khashoggi's killers, Snowden says. Edward Snowden addresses Israeli audience from Moscow. Israel-based NSO Group Limited may have helped Saudi Arabia track and kill government critic Jamal Khashoggi at the kingdom's consulate in Istanbul last month. Edward Snowden, fugitive. God. Heroic whistleblower. I'm just going to make my own edits to this Bloomberg article. Heroic whistleblower Edward Snowden told an Israeli audience by video conference. NSO said, well, I don't give a shit what NSO said because they're the ones who make the spyware. Speaking late Tuesday from an undisclosed location, Snowden said Israeli companies like NSO Group are among the leaders in selling spyware programs that allow governments to monitor their political opponents. The company's Pegasus software, which can infect a target's smartphone and in effect turn it into a spying device, had been installed on the phone of another Saudi dissident who was in contact with Khashoggi, Snowden said, citing the Canadian internet security think tank Citizen Lab. This could have helped the Saudis track Khashoggi and lure him to the consulate, Snowden said. Okay, so sure enough, Snowden described Israel's NSO Group as the worst of cyber surveillance companies. Its entire business is based on the idea of developing digital burglary tools for use by countries with dubious human rights records and histories of abusive behavior by state security. Edward Snowden, speaking via video link to a group in Tel Aviv, lambasted Israel's cyber surveillance industry for the creation of digital burglary tools that are being actively currently used to violate the human rights of dissidents. So there you go. I would like to say that I'm extremely proud of Snowden for doing that. That is not going to make him any friends. That is not going to improve his situation in any way, but it was absolutely the right thing for him to do. Absolutely the right thing for him to do. He is still to this day educating people about the crimes that are committed against us by these companies in conjunction with our own governments, with the strongest governments in the world, in fact. So I would just like to point out that that is a public service, and he's still performing it to this day, and I'm extremely proud of him for doing so. I simply typed Snowden Israel into Twitter. I strongly suggest that everybody go and type those keywords in and amplify that content, because that is extremely, extremely important information. And it's there in Bloomberg, but I certainly hadn't seen it. I'm not sure why it would be hidden from my timeline, but I had to go looking for it. So please go look for it, go read it, and help to circulate it. It's incredibly important. Okay, and I would like to say that type of spyware is also what you can guarantee people like Christine Assange will be being subjected to, and others who are close to WikiLeaks, and other dissidents. So that's something that we all need to be educated about, and we are very lucky to have people like Ed who are working to do that. So a huge thank you to him. Okay. On that note, who else wanted to speak? I think Elizabeth, you wanted to say something? If you're with us. Okay, I'm not sure if Elizabeth can hear us. I'm going to wrap. Oh, go ahead.
She's just muted. She just needs to unmute. There you go.
Hi, I'm sorry. I was talking to Fly. What could you? I was just talking.
Hey, just giving you a chance. If you want to say something, go for it. And I did get your email, and I'll catch up with you afterwards.
Oh, perfect. Okay. No. Well, when the activist was talking from.
Oh, and her connection just dropped right as she started to speak. Typically. Okay, well, you guys, I want to not be on stream Thursday and Friday WikiBees because I think I really need to rest my voice, but I will be certainly around to support it and to help to amplify it. So I'm going to ask Mackenzie and some of our other people to come on board and to work with you for the next 2 days to get the tasks done that need to be done ahead of Saturday's action and to continue to progress this movement as much as is possible. If there's anything else you guys would like to ask, do so ASAP, because you probably won't see me again until sometime middle of next week. I'm really impressed by the turnout here tonight. This was very last minute and we've had hundreds and hundreds of people participating. So it's amazing. Someone says, Mark Morgan says, keep doing what you guys are doing, revealing the atrocities and striving to make the world a better place, one secret exposed at a time. I appreciate it more than you know. Well, back at you. Thank you for being here and thank you for caring. Tina says, Snowden has ethics and integrity. I completely agree with you. Completely agree with you.
Yeah.
And just just also note that Israel also seems to be behind an attempt to rehabilitate or protect MBS. I'm sure you guys would have seen that news this week. Okay, Elizabeth, here you go. Elizabeth, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, that's the second time that's happened. As soon as I typed the question about the trade deals, my whole entire Zoom and my YouTube went down, and then I was asking again, and it just went down again. I just thought I'd note that. My basic question is, what's going on with trade deals, and is there any connection between, being pressured, but Ecuador being pressured by the U.S. and saying, either we won't give you access to trade deals or we want you to be part of these trade deals, and sort of an exchange going on with pressuring Ecuador to also harm Julian. I do think that there's been an increase in interest. I mean, WikiLeaks has been around for over 10 years. Did this just go down again?
No, you're good. We can hear.
Oh, good. Okay, I was going to say, I'm with Fly. I'm like, is this good? I feel like there's this real push for trade deals, this transnational push for trade deals. And Julian was publishing pieces of text of the trade deals. And they, in the US, they did not pass TPP. And there's a lot of expectation of Obama to pass the baton to Hillary to pass TPP. And so there's a lot of anger toward, from the establishment toward anyone who's a TPP activist, and also a real huge push. I think that, they're pushing TPP as CPTPP in the 11 other countries. And I know that New Zealand is now getting roped into this. And so basically, I think our next election in the US, they're going to come back around after all the other countries are nailed by TPP, which they're now calling CPTPP. And they're going to try to push the US back into it. But before they do that, I think they need to silence people, and they need to silence any TPP activist. And I was one of them. I know you were one of them, Susie. I know Julian was publishing pieces of the text. I know that as much as we don't, we know the whole system's rotten, and Trump is kind of capitulating at this point. In the beginning, he did stand up against TPP, so he certainly paid a price with all of this, these spy agencies even coming after him. And so I've noticed a trend with a lot of people who have stood up against these trade deals getting really, really attacked, like Ed Schultz, who's passed away recently. And so anyway, I just wanted to know if there's also any kind of connection with Ecuador and trade deals recently. That was my question. But I guess the activist is gone.
Yeah, it's a question that really needs to be directed at Jose. And certainly he's on the Discord, and we can connect you so that you could ask that question.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anything you want to say in the context of Unity for Jay?
Just that I'm really looking forward to seeing all the activists in London out there. I wish I could be there, but I just want to support everyone in the UK as much as I possibly can. And please, 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 if you're a student in the UK, please go on Unity4J and the Discord channel and look up the student teams that we are creating, because I really want to start flyering on campuses and really get as many people down to that Harrods protest on Saturdays. So it would be great if we could get students to flyer their campuses to increase the numbers on a weekly or daily basis. So that's my big plea and push. And I mean, because I really do feel that the activism on the ground in London is probably, I mean, that's ground zero. We need people out there. We need people out there everywhere in all the countries. But I would really love to see students in England and London to get down there and just flood that whole area. That's my feeling. So I don't know if you have any other.
I agree. And I think many people agree with you.
So other than that, other things that I've been working on, I have somebody who's working on the letter to the editor tool, but there's been, I guess, a few issues with that. So I'm just waiting for a report back from that person. And anyone wants to join the call teams, please. Also, there's a hashtag for call teams. And we can all, particularly the 4 countries, Ecuador, UK, Australia, and USA, we need to really put maximum pressure daily on any kind of leader or administrator, government official that is trying to harm Julian Assange, and just be relentless.
Okay, and somebody is reminding me that there is a protest to free Assange in Washington, D.C. at the White House on the 10th, which is Saturday, the same day as that we're wanting to kick off the London protests. So, and by the way, I don't expect that there's going to be hundreds or thousands of people at the initial protest. This is something we're going to have to build over time. But the most important thing is the relentless nature, that we keep holding them again and again and again and again, and let them grow, give them time to grow. Okay, thank you all. And the team will be back tomorrow night for another WikiBees session, 8 until 11 Eastern. Thank you very much for being here, and I'm going to go and catch up now on my Discord and social media messages. Amazing to have Jose here tonight, really, really great. And overall, I'm incredibly proud of what the Unity4J movement has grown into and what it has accomplished. I know Christine is the same. She loves this movement, and we can't do it without you guys. Bruce, let's save Mackenzie for tomorrow night, because I'm going to wrap up now. My voice is nearly gone completely. Okay, you guys, thank you so much. Love you all, and see you tomorrow night. I'll be here in the audience. Okay, good night, everyone.
Our number one enemy is ignorance, and I believe that is the number one enemy of everyone, is not understanding what is actually going on in the world. It's only when you start to understand that you can make effective decisions and effective plans. Now, the question is, who is promoting ignorance? Well, those organisations that try to keep things secret, and those organisations which distort true information to make it false or misrepresentative. In this latter category, it is bad media. It really is my opinion that the media in general are so bad, we have to question whether the world wouldn't be better off without them altogether. They're so distortive to how the world actually is, that the result is we see wars and we see corrupt governments continuing on. One of the hopeful things that I've discovered is that nearly every war that has started in the past 50 years has been a result of media lies. The media could have stopped it if they had searched deep enough. If they hadn't reprinted government propaganda, they could have stopped it. But what does that mean? Well, that means basically populations don't like wars. And populations have to be fooled into wars. Populations don't willingly, with open eyes, go into a war. So if we have a good media environment, then we'll also have a peaceful environment.
Julian Assange, thank you very much.